The earring that might end my marriage is small enough to hide in my palm, but heavy enough to crush 12 years of trust. Gold, delicate, with a tiny pearl drop that catches the morning light coming through our bedroom window. I found it under our bed while changing the sheets, tucked against the baseboard where the vacuum never quite reaches. It is not mine. I only wear silver hoops. Jason is downstairs making coffee. I can hear him humming something, completely relaxed, completely normal. The smell of French roast floats up the stairs while I stand here frozen, this stranger's jewelry burning a hole in my hand. My scrubs from last night are still on the bathroom floor. I worked a double shift saving lives at the hospital while someone else left pieces of herself in my bedroom. If you only saw this scene, you would say it is simple, he cheated on me. You would look at this earring, look at my husband pouring his morning coffee like nothing happened, and you would already have your verdict. But marriage is never that clean. You are already here hearing my side. So subscribe and stay to hear his too, because I promise you, his version will make you question everything you think you know about betrayal. But for you to understand how I ended up here, staring at proof I never wanted to find, I need to go back a little. I met Jason at a hospital fundraiser 7 years after I became a nurse. I was 26, exhausted from back-to-back shifts, and only went because my friend Rachel dragged me there. He was standing by the silent auction table, looking completely lost in a room full of doctors and donors, holding a glass of wine like it was a life preserver. He told me later he only came because his graphic design firm donated the event brochure. I like that he admitted being uncomfortable. Most men pretend they belong everywhere. We talked for 2 hours about everything except medicine and design. He asked me what I would do if I could travel anywhere without worrying about time or money. I said Iceland, to see the northern lights and feel completely small under something bigger than hospital politics and student loans. 3 months later, he surprised me with plane tickets. We went in November, when the nights are longest and the sky turns green and purple like someone spilled magic across the darkness. He proposed to me under those lights, his breath clouding in the freezing air, and I said yes before he even finished the question. Our wedding was small, just 60 people at a vineyard outside the city. My mom cried through the entire ceremony. His best man made a speech about how Jason finally found someone who made him want to stop designing his life alone and start building something with another person. We danced until the band packed up, and then we danced in the parking lot to music from his phone. I remember thinking that marriage to Jason would feel like that, unexpected, a little ridiculous, and completely right. The first 3 years were good. Really good. We bought a house with a backyard and a porch swing that creaked every time you moved. Jason turned the spare bedroom into his office, and I worked rotating shifts at the hospital, sometimes days, sometimes nights, never quite syncing our schedules but always finding time to meet in the middle. Sunday mornings were ours. Farmer's market, terrible coffee from the stand that always burned it, reading the news together on the couch while our feet touched. He would show me design mock-ups for his clients, and I would tell him stories about patients without breaking confidentiality. And we would laugh about the absurdity of trying to help people who do not always want to be helped. When I got promoted to charge nurse, he took me to the same restaurant where we had our first real date. When his firm landed a contract with a national retailer, I bought champagne and we drank it on the back porch at midnight, talking about maybe starting a family in a year or 2. We were building something. I believed in it the way I believed in vaccination schedules and hand washing, fundamental, proven, unshakable. But somewhere around year 4, the rhythm started to skip. Nothing dramatic. Nothing I could point to and say, there, that is when it broke. Just small things. Jason started working later, taking calls during dinner, checking his phone during movies. I started picking up extra shifts because the hospital was always short-staffed. And the money was good, and I told myself we needed to save more before thinking about kids. We had sex less often, and when we did, it felt mechanical, like we were both checking a box. Sunday mornings turned into him sleeping in and me running errands alone. I told myself this was normal. Marriage is not a honeymoon. People grow. Routines change. I saw enough broken families in the emergency room to know that our problems were small compared to real dysfunction. We did not fight. We did not yell. We just started existing in parallel instead of together, and I convinced myself that was maturity, not distance. I did not know yet that distance is where other people slip in. And I definitely did not know that Jason was already making space for someone else. The first crack I actually noticed was his phone. Jason always left it on the counter, face up, notifications lighting up the screen for anyone to see. Then one night in early spring, I walked into the living room and found it face down on the coffee table. He was in the kitchen getting water. I did not pick it up. I did not have a reason to. But I noticed. Then it happened again. And again. Always face down. Always within his reach. When I asked him about it casually, something like, "Why do you keep flipping your phone over now?" He laughed and said he read an article about blue light affecting sleep quality. Reasonable. Logical. Except we were not in the bedroom. We were on the couch at 7 in the evening. Around the same time, he started mentioning a new colleague. Her name was Brianna. She worked at a marketing firm that partnered with his design company on a campaign for an athletic wear brand. He would tell me about her ideas, her feedback on his mock-ups, how she really understood his creative vision in a way most clients did not. I remember thinking it was nice that he found someone at work who appreciated his talent. I did not think anything of it because I trusted him, and because I was too tired from 13-hour shifts to analyze every sentence. But then I noticed he started dressing better for video calls. New shirts, cologne on days he was not leaving the house. He upgraded his webcam and got one of those ring lights that makes you look airbrushed. When I teased him about it, he said he needed to look professional because Brianna's firm had high standards. He said her name so often it started to feel like a third person in our marriage. One Saturday in April, his phone buzzed during breakfast. He glanced at it, and his whole face changed for just a second. Something tightened around his mouth. Then he smiled, picked up the phone, and walked outside to the porch to take the call. He was out there for 20 minutes. When he came back in, I asked who it was. He said it was Brianna. I asked if everything was okay with the project. He said yes, she just needed his opinion on something. I asked why he had to go outside. He looked at me like I had just accused him of murder. "You are overreacting," he said. "I went outside because you were watching TV and I did not want to be rude and talk over your show." I was not watching anything. The TV was off. But I let it go because confronting him felt bigger than I was ready for. The gaslighting started small like that. He would tell me I was imagining things when I pointed out he was texting someone at midnight. He would say I was being paranoid when I asked why he suddenly needed to run to the office supply store on a Sunday when everything was closed except 120 for our convenience shop across town. He would turn my questions into character flaws. I was insecure, jealous, projecting stress from work onto our relationship. I started doubting myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe night shifts were messing with my perception. Maybe the problem was not his phone or his new shirts, or the way he said her name. Maybe the problem was me not trusting him enough. One evening in May, I tried to talk to him seriously. I waited until we were both home, both calm, no distractions. I sat down next to him on the couch and said, "I feel like we are not connected anymore. I feel like you are somewhere else even when you are right here." He did not look at me. He kept scrolling on his laptop. "I am just busy with work, Liv. You know how it is. This campaign is huge for my portfolio. I am not talking about work. I am talking about us." He sighed like I was exhausting him. "What do you want me to say? That I am sorry I am building a career? You work crazy hours too. You are barely home half the week. But you do not see me making it into some emotional crisis." That was the moment I realized he was rewriting reality. I worked nights because someone had to, and because we needed the income. He worked from home on his own schedule. We were not the same. But in his version of the story, I was the one creating distance. I dropped it. I went to bed alone that night while he stayed up working on something he would not show me. And I fell asleep thinking that maybe marriage was just this, to people slowly forgetting why they started in the same place. Back then, I thought that word overreacting was just annoying. I did not know it would become the weapon he used every single time I got close to the truth. I became someone I did not recognize. It started small, glancing at his phone when he left it on the table, listening a little too carefully when he took calls in the other room, checking his jacket pockets when I did laundry. I told myself I was not snooping, just noticing. But noticing turned into searching, and searching turned into obsession. I knew his passcode because we used to share everything, his birthday backwards, 1308. But 2 months after the phone flipping started, I tried it while he was in the shower, and it did not work. He changed it without telling me. When I asked him why, he said his company made everyone update their security because of a data breach. Another reasonable explanation. Another lie I chose to believe because the alternative was too terrifying. I started tracking patterns instead. He would smile at his screen and then quickly close whatever app he was on when I walked into the room. He would take his phone to the bathroom even for just 2 minutes. He started wearing the nice watch I bought him for his birthday only on days when he had video meetings with Brianna's team. He bought new cologne, something warmer and more expensive than his usual drugstore brand. When I asked about it, he said he was just trying something different. But he only wore it on those days. The credit card statements became my new obsession. I had access to our joint account, and I started checking it every other day. Most charges were normal: groceries, gas, his subscription to design software. But then I saw charges that did not make sense. A florist in the downtown area where Brianna's firm was located. $68 on a Tuesday afternoon. When I asked him about it, he said he sent flowers to his mom for her birthday. I checked the calendar. His mom's birthday was not for another 3 months. He laughed and said I was confused, that he sent them early because he would be swamped with work during the actual week. I let it go. But I did not forget. Then there was the hotel charge. $193 at a boutique hotel 2 towns over. It posted on a Thursday in June, a day when Jason told me he was meeting a potential client for lunch. When I asked him about it directly, showing him the statement on my phone, he did not even flinch. He said the client wanted to see the venue for an event they were planning, and he had to book a conference room for the presentation. I asked why he did not mention it before. He said because it was boring work stuff and he did not think I cared about the logistics of his meetings. Do you want me to copy you on every email I send to? He said, you are acting like I need permission to do my job. I was not acting like anything. I was asking a question about a hotel charge. But he turned it into me being controlling, me being suspicious, me being the problem. And God help me, I started to believe I was. The insomnia got worse. I would lie awake during my nights off, staring at the ceiling, playing conversations over and over in my head. I started losing weight because I forgot to eat lunch during shifts. My coworkers asked if I was okay. I smiled and said I was just tired. But tired was not the word. Haunted was closer. I felt like I was living with a stranger who looked exactly like my husband. I tried to catch him in smaller lies. One weekend, he said he was going to grab coffee and work at the cafe downtown for a change of scenery. I waited 30 minutes and then drove by. He was there, alone, laptop open, exactly where he said he would be. I felt insane. I felt like the villain in my own marriage, spying on a man who was just trying to work. I went home and cried in the shower because I did not know what was real anymore. But then I would find something else. A receipt in his car for wine and cheese from a specialty shop we never went to. When I asked him about it, he said he bought it for us but forgot to bring it inside and it went bad in the heat. The receipt was dated 3 weeks earlier. If he bought it for us, why did not he mention it? Why did not we drink it? He said I was being ridiculous, that he did not need to announce every purchase. And maybe he was right. Maybe I was ridiculous. I stopped talking to my friends about it because I was afraid they would tell me to leave him, and I was not ready to hear that. I stopped talking to my mom because she already thought Jason was too self-absorbed. I stopped talking to anyone except the patients in my care, and even then, I was distracted. One night I almost gave the wrong dosage of medication because I was thinking about a text I saw flash on Jason's screen earlier that day. Miss you already. He said it was from his cousin. I did not even know he had a cousin he texted with. The worst part was not the evidence. It was the not knowing. If he was cheating, I could leave. If he was innocent, I could get help for my paranoia. But this in-between space, this place where every explanation was plausible and every instinct screamed liar, that was the place that destroyed me. I started planning. If I found proof, real proof, what would I do? Would I confront him? Would I pack a bag and leave? Would I call Brianna's office and ask to speak to her directly? I played out scenarios in my head like a chess game, trying to anticipate his moves. But I could not make a move without a piece, and I did not have one yet. One night in July, I sat in our bedroom with his laptop open in front of me. He was downstairs watching a game. I knew I had maybe 20 minutes before he came back up. I went through his browser history. He cleared it every few days, but I found one search he missed. How to tell your spouse you are unhappy without starting a fight. My heart dropped. Not because he was unhappy, but because he was researching how to tell me instead of just telling me. What else was he researching? What else was he planning? I closed the laptop and went to bed before he came upstairs. I pretended to be asleep when he slid in next to me. He did not touch me. We used to fall asleep tangled together. Now we slept like strangers on a bus, careful not to make accidental contact. I thought the worst thing that could happen was discovering nothing. I was wrong. The worst was still waiting in a folded piece of paper I had not touched yet. August came with heat that made everything feel slow and heavy. I picked up 2 extra night shifts that week because another nurse called out sick, and I needed the distraction. Jason barely noticed I was gone. When I came home at 7 in the morning, he would already be at his desk, headphones on, designing something he would not show me. Friday night, my last shift of the week, I came home exhausted. The emergency room had been a disaster to car accident victims, a kid with a broken arm from falling off a trampoline, an elderly man having a heart attack. I saved 2 of those 3 lives. I felt like I had run a marathon. All I wanted was a shower, clean sheets, and sleep. Jason was still asleep when I got home at 7:30. I dropped my bag by the door and walked upstairs. The bedroom smelled different. Not bad, just different. Sweeter. Floral. I stood in the doorway for a second, trying to place it, but I was too tired to think. I chalked it up to Jason trying a new air freshener or laundry detergent. I showered and crawled into bed next to him. He stirred, mumbled something about needing to wake up soon, and rolled over. I fell asleep within minutes. When I woke up around 2 in the afternoon, Jason was downstairs on a call. I could hear his voice through the floor, animated and laughing. I sat up and realized the sheet smelled like that same floral scent. Not strongly, just a trace. I leaned down and smelled the pillow on Jason's side. Definitely their perfume. Not mine. I only wore a light citrus scent, and I had not worn any in days because I was too exhausted to care. I got out of bed and stared at the pillows like they might explain themselves. Then I thought, maybe I was imagining it. Maybe it was fabric softener. Maybe I was losing my mind. I stripped the bed to wash the sheets because it was time anyway, and because I needed to do something normal. That is when I found the earring. It was tucked against the baseboard under Jason's side of the bed, right where the bed frame meets the wall. Gold, delicate, with a small pearl drop. I picked it up and held it in my palm. It was real. Solid. Not something I could explain away. I sat on the edge of the bare mattress, staring at this tiny piece of jewelry, and everything clicked into place. The perfume. The phone flipping. The hotel charge. The flowers. The late night texts. Brianna. All of it was real. I was not paranoid. I was not overreacting. I was right. I should have screamed. I should have thrown something. But I did not. I sat there in complete silence, and I thought about every time Jason told me I was imagining things, every time he made me feel crazy for asking questions, every time he turned my intuition into a character flaw. He did not just cheat on me. He made me doubt reality itself while he did it. I heard him coming upstairs. I closed my hand around the earring and waited. He walked into the bedroom and saw me sitting there with the stripped bed and the pile of sheets on the floor. You okay? He asked. Casual. Innocent. I opened my hand and held the earring up. Whose is this? His face did not move for a full 3 seconds. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. Where did you find that? Under the bed. On your side. He walked closer and took the earring from my hand, studying it like it was a curiosity. Huh. That is weird. Maybe it is from the previous owners. This house is old. We have lived here for 4 years, Jason. I do not know, live. Maybe one of your friends dropped it. None of my friends wear gold earrings like this, and none of them have been in our bedroom. His tone shifted. Defensive. So what are you saying? You think I brought someone here? Did you know? Jesus, Olivia. I do not know where this came from. Maybe it fell out of a pocket or something. A pocket? You think earrings just travel in pockets and magically end up under our bed? He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture he always made when he was frustrated. I do not know what you want me to say. You are acting like this is proof of something when it is just a random piece of jewelry that could have gotten here 100 different ways. Tell me the truth. Is Brianna the one you have been texting? Is she the one you bought flowers for? Is she the one who came to our house while I was working nights saving people's lives? This is insane. You are being paranoid again. Stop calling me paranoid. I found an earring that is not mine under our bed, and the sheets smell like perfume I do not wear. Tell me the truth. He sat down on the bed, far from me, and put his head in his hands. For a second I thought he was going to cry. Then he looked up, and his face was hard. Double quotes fine. Yes. Brianna came over once. We worked late on the campaign, and she stopped by to drop off some prints because the file was too big to email. She came inside for maybe 10 minutes. We had a glass of wine. That is it. Nothing happened. She was in our bedroom. No. She was not. We were downstairs the whole time. Then how did her earring get under our bed? I do not know. Maybe she went upstairs to use the bathroom and it fell out. Maybe it got stuck to my shirt and fell off later. I do not know every detail of how an earring moves through a house, Olivia. His story had too many holes. If she only stayed 10 minutes, why the wine? If she only went upstairs to use the bathroom, why did the bed smell like perfume? If nothing happened, why did he change his passcode, flip his phone, lie about the flowers? I stood up. I want you to leave. What? Get out. Go stay with a friend. Go stay with her. I do not care. But you are not sleeping in this house tonight. Liv, come on. You are overreacting to something that is not even real. I am not overreacting. I am finally reacting the right amount. Get out. He left. He grabbed a bag, threw some clothes in it, and walked out without another word. I heard his car start in the driveway. I heard him pull away. And then I stood in our bedroom, holding an earring that did not belong to me, and I realized I did not know my husband at all. That is my side. With everything I lived and everything I found, this is cheating. But he does not tell this story in the same way.
I am sitting in a hotel room that smells like bleach and fake lavender, staring at my phone, trying to figure out when exactly I became the villain in my own marriage. The earring, that stupid, tiny earring that I did not even know was missing until Olivia held it up like a murder weapon. Her face, when she found it, not angry, not sad, just completely empty, like she already convicted me before I opened my mouth. I told her, Brianna only came inside for 10 minutes. That was not exactly true, but it was not exactly a lie either. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and that is the problem with marriage. There is no room for the middle anymore. Everything is binary. You are faithful or you are a cheater. You are honest or you are a liar. Nobody wants to hear about the gray space where you are drowning and someone throws you a rope and you grab it because you are tired of going under alone. Olivia thinks I destroyed our marriage, but from where I am sitting, our marriage was already dying long before Brianna's name ever came up. I just did not know how to tell my wife that I was disappearing inside a life that looked perfect from the outside but felt hollow in every room. If you only listen to her, I am the perfect villain. Let me tell you how it started from my side. I met Olivia at a hospital fundraiser where I was completely out of place. I remember standing by the auction table, pretending to care about signed medical textbooks and weekend getaway packages, wondering why I let my business partner talk me into donating our services. Then this woman in a navy dress walked up and asked me if I was okay because I looked like I was about to bolt. I laughed and said she had good instincts. We talked for 2 hours, and I did not want it to end. She was different from anyone I dated before. She did not care about my portfolio or my client list. She asked me what I loved about design, and when I told her it was the moment when a blank screen turns into something that makes people feel understood, she actually listened. Most people glaze over when I talk about my work. Olivia leaned in. I proposed to her, in Iceland under the northern lights, because I wanted the moment to match the size of what I felt. I wanted her to know I was serious. I wanted to give her something huge and unrepeatable. When she said yes, I thought I finally figured out how to stop designing a life alone and start building one with someone else. The first few years were good. We bought a house. We had routines. Sunday mornings at the farmer's market became our thing. I loved those mornings. The terrible coffee, her hand in mine, the way she would stop at every flower stand even though we never bought anything. I felt like I was part of something bigger than my work, bigger than my own ambition. But then something shifted. I cannot pinpoint the day or the conversation. It happened slowly. Olivia got promoted and started taking more shifts. Night shifts, double shifts, shifts that bled into each other until I did not know if she was coming or going. I understood it. I respected it. She was saving lives. I was moving pixels around a screen. Her work mattered in a way mine never would. But understanding something does not mean it does not hurt. I started eating dinner alone. I started waking up alone. I started talking about my day to an empty kitchen because she was either at the hospital or asleep recovering from the hospital. When she was home, she was exhausted, too tired to hear about the rebrand I landed, too tired to go out, too tired to have sex, too tired for me. I know how that sounds. I know it makes me seem selfish, but marriage is not supposed to feel like living with a roommate who occasionally acknowledges your existence between shifts. I tried to talk to her about it once. In May, after weeks of feeling invisible, she sat down and said she felt disconnected. I wanted to scream. She felt disconnected. I was the one living in a house with a ghost. I told her I was busy with work because I did not know how to say, "You chose the hospital over me, and now I do not know how to matter to you anymore." She accused me of making it about my career when it was really about us. But there was no us anymore. There was her job, and there was me existing around the edges of her schedule. I started resenting her. I hated that I resented her, but I did. I resented coming home to an empty house. I resented planning my day around her sleep schedule. I resented that every conversation we had was about her patients, her stress, her exhaustion. When I tried to share my wins, she would nod and say, "That is great, babe," in the same voice she used when I told her I bought new coffee filters. I did not wake up one morning wanting someone else. I only realized how empty I was when a different person started to pay attention. Brianna Chun was hired by the marketing firm that partnered with my design company for a campaign launch in March. She was the lead strategist, which meant we had to collaborate closely on every visual element. Our first video call, she complimented my portfolio before we even started talking about the project. She said my work had a cinematic quality that most designers lose when they prioritize function over feeling. Nobody talked about my work like that, especially not Olivia, who had not asked to see a single mock-up in over a year. At first, it was just emails, professional, polite, focused on deadlines and deliverables, but then she started adding little asides at the end. "Hope you're having a better Monday than I am. This coffee is terrible, but your color palette is making up for it." Small things, human things. I started doing the same. It felt harmless. Then the emails turned into messages on the project Slack channel. Then private messages. Then texts. She would send me articles about design trends at 11 at night. I would send her playlists I used for deep work sessions. We started having inside jokes about the client who could not decide between two shades of blue that were virtually identical. She called him Indecisive Ian. I called her Brand Whisperer. It was stupid and fun, and I did not realize I was looking forward to her messages more than I looked forward to seeing my own wife. The first time we met in person, it was for a project kickoff meeting at her firm downtown. She wore a green blouse that made her eyes look darker than they did on video calls. We shook hands, and I noticed she smelled like jasmine and something citrus. Clean, bright, the opposite of the antiseptic smell that clung to Olivia's scrubs, no matter how many times she washed them. After the meeting, Brianna suggested we grab coffee to go over some details. The client rushed through. We sat in a corner cafe for 3 hours. We talked about the campaign. Yes, but we also talked about why she got into marketing, why I got into design, what we would do if we could start over in any career. She told me she almost became a photographer. I told her I almost became an architect. She said we both ended up building things anyway, just in different dimensions. I liked that. I liked how she made my work sound important. I did not tell Olivia about the coffee, not because it was a secret, but because I knew she would not care. She was working a double that day. When I got home at 8, she was already gone. I ate leftover pasta alone and texted Brianna a funny observation about Indecisive Ian. She replied with a laughing emoji and said, "We need to survive this project together." I replied, "Deal." That was the moment I crossed the first line. Not physically, but emotionally. I was building a space in my life where Olivia did not exist and Brianna did, and I did not stop myself because it felt like the first time in months that someone saw me as more than a paycheck or a schedule obstacle. The texts became daily. Good morning messages, late night messages, photos of bad client feedback that made us both laugh. She sent me a picture of her dog. I sent her a picture of the sunset from our back porch. She said it looked peaceful. I said it was lonely. She sent back a heart emoji. I stared at it for 10 minutes before I sent one back. In June, we had to travel to the client's headquarters to towns over for a presentation. Separate caras, separate hotel rooms. Everything professional. The meeting went well. Indecisive Eon finally made a decision. Brianna and I celebrated with drinks at the hotel bar. 1 drink turned into 3. 3 turned into her, saying she did not want to go back to her room yet. I did not want her to either. We sat in a booth talking about everything except work. She told me about her divorce 2 years earlier, how her ex-husband stopped seeing her as a person and started seeing her as a fixture. I told her about Olivia working nights and how I felt like a ghost in my own house. She put her hand on mine and said, "You are not a ghost. You are right here." That touch lasted 5 seconds. But it rewired something in my brain. Nobody had touched me with intention in months. Olivia and I brushed past each other in the hallway. We occupied the same bed without making contact. Brianna's hand on mine felt like proof I still existed. I should have pulled away. I should have gone to my room. I should have called Olivia and told her I missed her. But I did not. I turned my hand over and held Brianna's hand back. We went to her room. I told myself we were just talking. We sat on the edge of her bed, still talking, and then we were not talking anymore. We were kissing, and then we were doing more than kissing. And I did not stop because stopping meant going back to a marriage where I was invisible, and staying meant feeling wanted for the first time in a year. It happened twice that night. The second time, I did not even pretend to feel guilty. I felt alive. I felt seen. I felt like a version of myself I forgot existed. The next morning, I woke up in her bed and immediately wanted to rewind time. Not because I regretted her, but because I knew I just blew up my entire life, and I did not know how to unblow it. Brianna woke up and smiled at me like nothing catastrophic just happened. She kissed my shoulder and said, "No regrets, okay? We are adults. This does not have to be complicated." But it was already complicated. I drove home in silence, planning what I would say to Olivia if she asked about the trip. She did not ask. She was asleep when I got back. I showered, changed the sheets on my side of the bed, and acted like nothing happened. Brianna and I agreed it was a one-time thing. A release, a mistake we would not repeat. But 2 weeks later, she came to my house to drop off prints for the campaign. That part was true, but she did not stay for 10 minutes, and she did not just have 1 glass of wine. She stayed for 2 hours. We sat on the couch. We talked. We kissed. She asked if she could see my office. Primera, so it. Her. She asked if she could see the rest of the house. I should have said no, but I did not. I brought her upstairs. Not to the bedroom, just to show her the view from the window at the end of the hall. But we ended up in the bedroom anyway. We did not have sex. We just lay on the bed, fully clothed, talking about how impossible the situation was. She took off her earrings and put them on the nightstand because they were bothering her. When she left, she forgot one. I did not realize it until 3 days later when I found it under the bed while looking for my phone charger. I put it in my pocket, planning to give it back the next time I saw her, but I forgot. And then Olivia found it. I told myself it would never happen again. But the truth is, once you open that door, you cannot pretend the house is still the same. So yes, the earring was Brianna's. The perfume Olivier smelled was Brianna's. The hotel charge was real. The flowers were for Brianna, sent to her office after a particularly stressful client call, because I wanted to make her smile. The late-night texts were real. The cologne was because I wanted to feel like someone worth paying attention to. All of it was real. But here is what Olivia does not understand. I did not set out to betray her. I did not wake up one day and decide to destroy our marriage. I drowned slowly in a relationship where I stopped mattering. And when someone threw me a rope, I grabbed it. That does not make it right. But it makes it human. Olivia wants to call it cheating. Fine. Call it cheating. But what do you call a marriage where one person works so much, the other person becomes wallpaper? What do you call a relationship where you try to express loneliness and you get accused of not supporting your partner's career? What do you call a life where you go to bed alone more nights than not? And when your spouse is finally home, they are too exhausted to notice you are disappearing. I know how this sounds. I know I am the one who crossed the line. I know I am the one who brought someone else into our house, into our bed, into the space that was supposed to be sacred. But that space stopped being sacred long before Brianna's name entered the picture. Olivia just did not notice because she was too busy saving everyone, except us. The night Olivia kicked me out, I sat in my car for 20 minutes before I drove away. I wanted her to come outside and tell me to stay. I wanted her to fight for me the way I used to fight for us. But she did not sell it. May go. And maybe that is the most honest thing that happened between us in over a year. I am not saying I am innocent. I lied. I hid things. I made choices that hurt her. But I am also not saying I am the only one responsible for how we ended up here. Olivia sees herself as the victim because she found the proof. But I was a victim too. A victim of a marriage that died slowly while we both pretended everything was fine. Did I cheat? By her definition, yes. By mine, it is more complicated. Brianna was not the problem. Brianna was the symptom. The problem was that Olivia and I stopped being partners and started being two people who shared a mortgage and a last name. The problem was that we stopped fighting for each other and started fighting about earrings and perfume and hotel charges. I wish I handled it differently. I wish I told Olivia I was unhappy before I found someone else who made me feel less alone. I wish I was brave enough to say, this marriage is not working, and I do not know how to fix it, instead of letting someone else fill the space you left empty. But I did not, and now here we are. She calls it cheating. I call it the consequence of a marriage that was already broken. You decide.
8 months after the earring, Olivia still works night shifts at the same hospital. She moved into a one-bedroom apartment near the medical district, close enough to walk to work when the weather is decent. The apartment is small but hers. She painted the bedroom a soft gray and bought new sheets that do not carry any memory of perfume that was not hers. Her friends say she seems lighter now, less haunted. She does not check her phone obsessively anymore. She does not flinch when someone mentions trust or marriage or betrayal. She sees a therapist every other Tuesday. They talk about gaslighting, about intuition, about how to rebuild a sense of self that was eroded slowly over years. Olivia told her therapist that the worst part was not the cheating itself. It was the months of being told she was crazy when she was actually right. The therapist nodded and said that was a kind of violence too. Olivia cried for the first time in months. She does not date yet. She is not ready. But she thinks about it sometimes late at night when the apartment is quiet. She wonders if she will ever trust anyone enough to let them in again. She wonders if the next person will tell her the truth, or if she will spend the rest of her life looking for earrings under beds. Jason moved in with a friend for 2 months, then found his own place across town, a loft with exposed brick and big windows, the kind of space he always wanted but never pushed for when he was married. He works from home still, takes on bigger clients now, travels more. He does not talk to Brianna anymore. They finished the campaign, and then they stopped messaging. He told himself it was mutual. She told him it was too complicated. He wonders sometimes if he loved her, or if he just loved not feeling invisible. He started therapy too after his sister insisted. He talks about resentment, about unmet needs, about how he justified crossing lines because he felt abandoned first. His therapist asks him if he ever told Olivia directly that he was unhappy before he sought comfort elsewhere. Jason goes quiet. He says he tried. The therapist asks what tried means. Jason does not have a good answer. He dates casually now, nothing serious. He tells the women up front that he is recently separated and not looking for anything heavy. Most of them disappear after a few weeks. One of them stayed longer, but she asked him if he still thought about his ex-wife, and he said no too quickly. She left the next day. Jason and Olivia finalized their divorce on a Thursday in March. They sat in a mediator's office and divided their life into spreadsheets. Who gets the couch? Who gets the coffee maker? Who keeps the house? Olivia kept the house. Jason did not fight her on it. They barely looked at each other during the meeting. When it was over, they walked to their separate cars without saying goodbye. They do not speak now unless it is about paperwork. No closure. No final conversation where someone admits fault and someone grants forgiveness. Just silence and separate lives built on the ruins of what they thought would last forever. The earring still exists. Olivia keeps it in a small box in her closet. She does not know why. Maybe as evidence. Maybe as a reminder. Maybe because getting rid of it feels like admitting it did not matter, and it mattered more than anything. Jason thinks about the earring sometimes too. He wonders if finding it earlier would have changed anything, or if they were always headed toward the same ending, just on different timelines. In the end, the receipts were real, the distance was real, and so were the lies. But so was the loneliness. So was the resentment. So was the slow death of a marriage that both of them watched happen without knowing how to stop it. After hearing her side and his side, who do you believe is closer to the truth? Was this clear cheating a gray area, or a marriage that was already dead long before the proof showed up? Did Jason betray Olivia the moment he texted Brianna back? Or did Olivia abandon the marriage first by choosing her career over connection? Is there such a thing as emotional cheating? Or does betrayal only count when bodies cross lines? Can two people both be right and both be wrong in the same story? Tell me, in the comments, her side, his side, or no one is clean. If you like long, messy marriage stories where the truth does not fit in a single version, subscribe, leave a like, and share this with someone who loves hard questions about love and betrayal. Because the truth is never simple and neither is marriage.